Welcome to Living True and Truly Living, where real people tell real stories about real issues. With your host, Tahiera Monique Brown.
This is my final segment for the fall series of 2015, and this is going to be a powerful segment. As my first guest is Miss, she said don't say Miss, is Lily Ledbetter. And Lily is going to share with us her journey to fight for women's rights. This is a form of victimization. We are dealing with victimization in this last segment, and it's going to be across the board. But she's talking about women's rights in the workplace. Lily, is so great to have you join me today. I was told a lot about you, but I want to hear from you in your own voice about your journey and what you had to do to fight for women's rights in the workplace.
Well, I found out after working for Goodyear Tire and Rubber in Gadsden for 19 years that I was making significantly less than my male counterparts doing the exact same job. Not similar, but the exact job. So I couldn't let it go. I knew I had to stand up for myself because immediately I thought about my overtime pay had been so shortchanged. My retirements would be in the future from what I had earned, because that was what it was based on, and I just could not let it go. So I had to file a charge, or I did, for myself and my family with the EOC, and then we went from there and got an attorney, and we ended up, I filed a lawsuit, and we went to court, and it was a long time. I filed a charge in 1998, the lawsuit in 1999, and then in 2003 we went to federal trial, and then 2006 we were in the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C., and then the verdict came out May of '07, and from there then it had to be changed because those 5 justices ruled against me.
So, okay, what was that like for you, to have all this fight for all these years, and then they rule against you? What did that do to you? I know it gave you more fight because you're sitting here talking about it.
It did.
So it gave you more fight, but what was that like at that moment when you knew that they were against you? In that moment, what was that moment like for you?
It was hard to accept, but I did, and I just couldn't let it go still. I just could not let that go, because then it became not about Lily Ledbetter, but about all you women that's still working, and the young women that coming out of schools and colleges that will go into the workforce. It was about them.
It changed.
And
It wasn't about you and your
yes,
family anymore. Now it was about all women.
everybody. I just couldn't let it go. So
I love that.
I just
I couldn't let it go.
I
What's the
couldn't.
name of your book?
Grace and Grit, my fight for equal pay at Goodyear and beyond.
I just couldn't let it go.
I couldn't let it go. I could not let it go, because that's just who I am. And a lot of people have tried to say I was mad. No, I wasn't mad, but I was humiliated and just hurt to know that I had given so much to a company that did not, respond with rewarding my pay as they should, like they did everybody else's, the men, for example. The white men were making so much more. And that also goes on into the retirement, 401k, and Social Security. It's all based on that.
And I wanted to make sure that when I focused on interviewing you for this segment, that it was about the rights of women.
It is.
Because across the board, it doesn't matter. Women's rights swing down below in certain instances. And for me to be sitting with a woman who has fought this battle and has written a book and speaking for Kiwanis today, and to tell your story, my husband said, you have got to have her on the show. And what matters to me is sitting before you is I had a battle as well in the workplace, and I didn't get the support I thought I needed, but I didn't have that wherewithal to not let it go. And I thank you for fighting for us. I not let it go in another way. I just found something else to do.
Right.
But I wished I had that, because I love the job I had. And that was the thing.
That's what's bad.
That's what hurt me,
Yes.
is not only once but twice. You're
Right.
going up against the men and you're trying to fight for a job that you love. Then they start playing games with you,
That's
and start mistreating you in the workplace. And you don't realize how subtle it is. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's right in your face.
That's right.
And it hurts to the core.
Right.
And you feel like you got to work twice as hard to show that your value. But all the
Right.
time, you don't have value to them, except to do the work, take the less pay, and don't complain.
That's exactly right. And
Don't
when you do
complain.
you're out of there.
That's right, and well, that's what happened. That's what happened.
Mhm.
You
That's
know,
what happens.
eventually, that's
And
what
you-
happened.
And you hit the nail on the head. That's a shame because
Mhm.
you have a job that you love.
Mhm.
And when you have a job that you really
I
like,
love
you
them.
can't wait to get there in
Mhm.
the morning, and you hate to leave at night to go home,
Mhm.
but you know you're coming back and you get to pick up where you left off.
And you
That
got
is a-
friends. You know,
that
I
is
was
a true meaning
yes.
of everyday life.
Mhm.
That is true. It really means a lot.
And sometimes the job was the place you would go to if you loved your job.
Yes,
If you had trouble at home,
that's
the
true.
job was your reprieve.
That's right.
But then if you got a battle at home and then a battle at work too,
Mhm.
where do you go for reprieve? To be a strong woman like you, I'm not saying you had a battlefield in your home, but to have the battlefield in the workplace,
Right.
the place that you love, the job that you love, it's humiliating.
It is.
And
It really is.
it's heartbreaking. And
But
you,
one thing that I had in my favor since I was 2 years away from retirement, and a lot of women, I had one young woman come up to me at a college where I was doing a conference, and she was crying. And she said, I am so embarrassed that I did not stand up back when I should have. She had a job she loved,
Mhm.
and she thought it was paying her well until she found out.
Mhm.
And when she found out how much less she made, she got another job and resigned and left. And I said, well, what was your alternative? She said, if I had filed a charge, I would have been unemployed. And
Mhm.
she was a divorced mother with a
and you have to
10-year-old daughter at
make
the
you have to make
time.
hard choices in
I
that
said, you
type of
can't,
circumstance.
people like that, they can't afford to do that. They
Mhm.
need to just move on.
The good thing
because you
about
can't
you,
fight.
for you to do this fight though, you have to have a good support system, a
I do.
strong lawyer that believes in your fight, because you actually end up sometime with a lawyer that's going for the ride.
That's
But to
true.
have a lawyer with you that believe in the fight, that goes the long way, the long road, take the long road, the good, the
That's
bad, and
true.
the ugly with you, and then to be able to celebrate with you in the end when
That's
you
right.
win. The celebration is much sweeter.
That's right.
Because if it came too easy, you would wonder what was around the corner.
Yeah.
So for you to have had this, all these years of a battle, to make it all the way to where you're sitting here today, writing a book, being able to share your voice with the world, and encourage women like myself. Now I'm not a young kid neither, so you know I'm the new 30. You know, it begins to have a realization for these younger girls. I hope they understand,
Right.
because the more children now grow in privilege, they don't
Yes.
understand that they have to know what's happening in the workplace to be able to secure their
Yes.
future, not just the day-to-day working, but their future.
And you know, the other epidemic I have learned since I've been out touring the country is the senior class is made up of women like myself who are widows.
Mhm.
And we outlive our spouses, women do, by 10 years.
That's right.
And there's so many women that have moved in their children's homes, or they've had to be, because they didn't have enough of retirement to stay independent.
Mhm.
And it wasn't because they might have worked for 30 years in a cotton mill or 30 years in a sewing factory, but they did not have the right pay and did not have the right benefits. And this is not right in this country. It's not.
You know what, Miss Lily, and I shouldn't have said Miss again. Go ahead,
It's
tell us.
okay. It's okay.
Lily. Thank you. Thank you for your journey. Thank you for your words of encouragement. And I want to encourage you. Keep stepping out there, sharing your voice, because I mean, you're powerful. You mean what you're saying. And that means a lot to me. Thank you for joining me on the show today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
It was my blessing.
And I want the women, young women, that hear this to know, learn the laws that pertain to them on their jobs, and if they're not being treated fairly, you know, look around, see if there's anything they can do, and if there's not, then they can find another job and move on. There are people who will pay fairly.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.